My name is Elwyn Rees. I work for ADAS as a livestock consultant. We are here today by kind permission of Neil and John Francis of Tynarut Farm. The focus at this event will be on, first of all, rearing the heifers, getting the right live weights and achieving a minimum live weight at service. This will depend on the type of heifer in question. If it's a fairly small traditional breed, then you're probably looking at a live weight of service at about 350 kilograms. But if it's a bigger continental purebred, then you're looking at a weight at service of about 450 kilograms. And as a rule of thumb, you're looking at live weight which equates to about 65% of the mature weight of the cow at service. There is particular emphasis on calving at a fairly young age. It's often traditional to feed to calve heifers when they're 3-year-old, and statistics show that the average age for calving is actually 34 months. But we do encourage, wherever possible, to get farmers to calve their cows at 24 months of age, because this does lead to substantial savings. It can lead to about 15% saving in the amount of land required, about 12% saving in the amount of forage required, and about 7% saving in the amount of feed required. But we do accept that calving heifers earlier does mean that they have to be looked after, otherwise they do suffer. The service period is quite important with regard to heifers. It's traditional to leave the bulls run with the cows for maybe 12 to 16 weeks. But for heifers, we do say that we should run the bulls with the cows for just 7 weeks. This will enable then 3 estrus periods, and then the bull will be able to have the opportunity to serve the cows 1, 2, or even 3 times. We say to restrict to 7 weeks, because then that makes a compact calving. There are many advantages to compact calving. For example, the cows are much easier to manage. It means that they're in a similar state of pregnancy. It means that some cows are not overfed and others are not underfed, so the amount of feed being offered matches requirements. And the calves are also easier to manage. And by having a fairly compact calving, your calves are going to be heavier. And if you are selecting heifers for breeding, then you're going to get a better selection, because you can select from a bigger bunch of animals. So we all think that cows generally calve every 12 months, but if you look across the board, the average figure is 14.5 months, which means that, in theory anyway, that suckler cows produce 21% less calves than they should be able to produce. With regard to calving, it's important that the heifers are in the right condition, not too fat and not too thin. It's quite common to see heifers that have been overfed in the latter stages of pregnancy and become too fat, and this leads to difficult calvings. At Tynarut this year, we have been particularly careful to restrict the amount of feed that the animals have had, especially during the last 2 months of pregnancy. And to date, all the heifers that have calved this year at 2-year-old have calved very successfully with live calves. Post-calving management is also important, particularly for heifers that are calving at 2 years of age. Because they will still have some growth to do. There will be some way off their mature size. As a rule of thumb, we expect heifers, when calving at 2 years of age, to be 85% of their mature weight. So clearly there is some growing to do, and this growing has to be sort of catered for. So it's vital that those heifers, when they are suckling the calves in their first lactation, they should be fed well, either be given plenty of good quality grass, or if the grass is in short supply, then they should be offered say 2 kilograms of head per day of a high energy supplementary feed, because it's not uncommon for conception in the heifers that have had one calf to be particularly disappointing, much more disappointing than the maiden heifers going to the bull. So looking after them in that first lactation is vital.
So this evening we're going to talk about cattle handling, and it's mainly about behaviour, and we're going to introduce a little bit of health and safety issues as well. What we're going to start off is probably with a little bit of a Q&A session with our farmers here, and we're going to talk, I'd like to divide cattle handling issues up between 3 things. That's 1 is understanding the cows, 2 is working with the people, and 3 is then looking at what I call the hardware, so that's the crushes and the rails and the gates. So we'll spend a little bit of time on the cow itself, because in the same way as the big retailers spend a huge amount of money in understanding our behaviour before they design anything for us, then it's important we understand about the cow's behaviour, and then we can design something for them. So there'll be quite a lot of experience here, and what we'll try and do is just draw out what people think they know. So the usual things are, do cows see in black and white or colour? And we'll draw out some of that. What can they see? How can they move? The fact that they're very long and on 4 legs makes it sometimes difficult for them to move the way we move. And a little bit about how the herd behaves and how that impacts on handling, because handling is not one of the normal behaviours that we use when we're farming. So being taken by your predator, which is us, into a handling system, the instinctive response is that we're going to get killed, because that's the prey response. Whereas all the other behaviours we work with, like giving birth and eating and having sex, all of those are normal things we work with. So handling, that's why it can be so stressful. So then when we move on from sort of understanding about the cow, then we're going to do a little bit about how the cattle will react to their handlers, and a lot of the issues around cows are what we call place and person associated. So the handling system is something that they associate with certain places and events. So what can happen is, very quickly, if you have lots of nasty events happening in the same place, needless to say the cows get fairly wise to it fairly quickly. So it's looking about what we can do to break that cycle, even if it's weighing or running them through to feeding, or just trying to make things less nasty for the cattle, because that helps reduce stress levels, and that improves the handling yet again. And then finally what we'll do is we'll walk through the system and then try and bring a couple of those things together with some sort of little tips for farmers. I'm talking about, less than £100 job, with what can you do with a bit of plyboard, just turning things round, maybe bits and pieces like that, rather than thinking you've got to spend, hundreds, thousands of pounds on a brand new setup. Because sometimes you can go out a brand new setup and it'll still not maybe work for you all that well. So that's the essence of what we're going to do this evening.